Welcome to Travel with Sean. I'm Sean. Today we're in Beijing, China, and I'm going to show you what I think are the top things to see when you're visiting Beijing. We start out in Beihai Park, whose name means the Northern Sea. It's China's oldest, largest, and best preserved imperial garden. In the middle of the 13th century, Kublai Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, conquered China and made Beijing his capital. He set up what is now Beihai Park as his imperial garden. This became a public park in 1925, and it covers an area of about 175 acres, with the lake occupying more than half of it. The park is very scenic in many areas, including this area, where we can get a peek at the Nine Dragon Wall. And if you want, you can walk down this path for a closer look. Now we're in Beihai Park at the Nine Dragon Wall. This wall is significant because it is only one of three remaining Imperial Nine Dragon Walls. They were built in 1756. The other two, one of them is in the Forbidden City, and the other one is in a city called Datong in Shanxi province. In addition to the 9 large coiled dragons, there are several small dragons. In total, there are 635 dragons. As I said, it's about 250 years old, so it's in pretty good condition. And there's a replica in Chicago's Chinatown in the USA. From this scenic spot, we look across the lake to see the White Dagoba rising above Jade Island. The White Dagoba was built in 1651 over the ruins of Kublai Khan's palace in the moon. Built for a visit from the 5th Dalai Lama, the White Dagoba is not a temple, but was built to symbolize unity between China and Tibet under Chinese rule. Next to the White Dagoba is the Hall of Good Fortune, which was built in 1751 to protect and safeguard the sacred Buddhist scrolls encased inside the White Dagoba. The White Dagoba contains Buddhist relics placed there in the 17th century, and some scholars speculate that these may be the remains of Tibetan Buddhist clerics involved in its construction. Built in 1757 to be an imperial tea house, Jingshan Studio, or Studio of the Peaceful Heart, got its current name in 1885 because the Dowager Empress believed that its original name was unlucky. The Western Heaven Temple was a site of imperial ceremony, reflecting the emperor's role as patron and protector of Buddhism. These ladies are dressed in beautiful imperial-style outfits for photos. You can actually rent costumes like these, which seems like a booming business in China, as people want pictures taken of them like this at many historical sites. This is the Five Dragon Pavilion, so named because it was thought to look like 5 dragons playing in the water. Built in 1543, the 22nd year of the Ming dynasty, it was a place where the emperor could enjoy fishing or resting by the lake. Now it's a place for people to gather, whether to socialize, have lunch, or just take a break while touring Beihai Park. Now I'm in the Fangshan restaurant in Beihai Park, and this restaurant opened up in 1925, starting out as just a tea house, serving tea and snacks to the emperor and his family. as they stroll around the grounds of what was then the Imperial Garden. Now, Beihai Park is a public park and a tourist attraction. And this restaurant is now a five-star restaurant. All right, we tried to go to Tiananmen Square, but we got turned away because we didn't have an appointment. And we know that you can show a passport to go to to buy a ticket to tourist attractions on the same day. So we showed him our passports, and he said, you have to have an appointment. If you don't have an appointment, you can't get to Tiananmen Square. This is something new. I've been here before, and they used to only have increased police presence around the week of June 4th, but never have they absolutely restricted access like this. Anyone who wants to enter the Forbidden City has to walk around its outer walls to reach Wuman, the Meridian Gate. This southern entrance served as the palace's main gateway because south was their traditional direction of honor and imperial authority. And the Forbidden City is called that because everyone was forbidden unless they were invited in by the emperor. We're going to go inside and take a look around. Construction began in 1406 when the emperor moved the capital of China from Nanjing to Beijing, where he had more power. After the last emperor, Puyi, abdicated to President Sun Yat-sen in 1912, he was allowed to continue to live in the Forbidden City until he was kicked out by the ruling general in 1924. The Forbidden City was then converted into the Palace Museum and opened to the public nearly a year later. Having been the imperial palace and political center of China for nearly 500 years, it is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and as the Palace Museum, it is one of the most visited museums in the world. The imposing structure we see before us is Taihemen, the Gate of Supreme Harmony. It served as the grand entrance to the outer court, leading to the Hall of Supreme Harmony, the largest hall in the palace. Only the emperor and high-ranking officials could pass through the Gate of Supreme Harmony. Others had to use one of the side gates flanking it. Stepping into the outer court, the Hall of Supreme Harmony rises ahead. This grand hall was the center of imperial power, where the Ming emperors conducted state affairs, while the Qing emperors used it for ceremonial purposes. Again, the Hall of Supreme Harmony is the largest building in the Forbidden City. It served as a ceremonial center of imperial power. Its size and luxurious decorations reflected the emperor's authority. Directly behind the Hall of Supreme Harmony is the Hall of Central Harmony, where the emperor rested and rehearsed before major events. Behind it is the Hall of Preserving Harmony, used originally for banquets, later for imperial exams. Jingshan Park sits just north of the Forbidden City and was designed as a protective space behind the palace, balancing the palace's energy according to traditional feng shui and shielding it from northern winds and spirits. This park has one of the most somber sights in Beijing's history. In 1644, as rebel forces closed in, the last Ming Emperor, Chongzhen, came to this spot in Jingshan Park. Knowing the dynasty was lost, he hanged himself from a scholar tree that once stood here. The original tree is gone, but a replacement now marks where the Ming dynasty came to its tragic end. Jingshan Hill was built from the dirt dug out to create the palace moat. Emperors of the Ming and Qing dynasties ascended here to honor their ancestors. The hill served as a ceremonial space where ritual and reflection connected them to the legacy of the dynasty. Each ascent, each ceremony reinforced their spiritual and political authority, maintaining the continuity of imperial tradition. From the top of Jingshan Hill, emperors looked down on the Forbidden City, being physically above their subjects. The palace's layout followed principles of feng shui and imperial cosmology. The sequence of gates, halls, and courtyards embodied auspicious order and reinforced the emperor's authority. Today we're in Beijing, China, visiting the Temple of Heaven. This building, this structure, was built in 1420, and it was intended to be a place to worship heaven and worship earth. So it was called the Temple of Heaven and Earth. But a little over 100 years later, in 1530, they split. And so this place became the Temple of Heaven because they only worshiped the stars here. This is the hall for the prayers for good harvest. It's where the emperor used to come to pray for good harvest. It is 118 feet in diameter and stands 125 feet high. It was originally built in 1420 along with the other structures in this temple, but it burned down in 1889 and had to be rebuilt. It was made entirely of wood without the use of any nails. As the Son of Heaven, it was the emperor's role to come here to pray to the gods that controlled weather and agriculture. The emperor entered through this gate the night before winter solstice, offering wine and incense to heaven, with bowing and praying before the sacred tablets of heaven, sun, moon, stars, clouds, and rain. The Imperial Vault of Heaven resembles the Hall of Prayer, but is single-gabled and sits on a single-level marble platform. It has been maintained and preserved since its construction in 1530. It served as a sacred storage hall for the heavenly tablets used in winter solstice prayers. Its circular shape represents heaven, and the shimmering blue roof was meant to mirror the sky above. I just left the compound where the Imperial Vault of Heaven is, where they stored the tablets the emperor used in worshiping heaven, the sun, the moon, and the earth. This is the center gate, where only the emperor could walk. The pathway that the emperor would be on leads us right to the stairs that go to the top of the altar of heaven. This was supposed to be the exact center of the universe, the heart of heaven. They believed that the earth was the center of the universe, and that this spot was the center of the earth. So all Chinese tourists want their picture taken at the center of the earth, praying to heaven like the emperors did centuries ago. At the heart of heaven, the center of the circular mound altar, I took a bow in each direction, not quite how the emperor would have done it centuries ago. The Temple of Heaven grounds cover just over 1 square mile, with the 3 main structures, the circular mound, the Imperial Vault of Heaven, and the Hall of Prayers for Good Harvest, all aligned on a north-south central axis. The Summer Palace was built in the mid-1700s as a vast imperial retreat, and everything here is arranged around Lake Kunming. The lake covers most of the site, and the palaces, walkways, gardens, and pavilions were all designed to wrap around it. As the view shifts towards Longevity Hill, you can see how the complex rises above the water. At the top is the Temple of Buddhist Incense, the most iconic structure of the Summer Palace. It dominated the skyline in Imperial times, and it still defines the whole layout of the hill today. From across Kunming Lake, the Tower of Buddhist Incense rises 197 feet above the lake. The Long Corridor, also known as the Long Gallery, was built in 1750 on the order of Emperor Qianlong as a rain shelter corridor for his mother, Dowager Empress Chongqing. It was partially destroyed by war twice, in 1860 and 1900. Each restoration was intended to maintain and or restore its historical appearance. Spanning about 796 yards in length, it boasts over 14,000 paintings of nature and sceneries found in southern China landscapes. The corridor's design also frames views of the gardens and Kunming Lake at key points, connecting the artwork to the natural landscape outside. The Gate of Dispelling Clouds marks a ceremonial entrance to the Tower of Buddhist Incense on Longevity Hill. Flanking the gate are bronze guardian lions, emblems of strength and vigilance. The male lion, with his paw resting on a ball, represents imperial authority over the world, watching all who pass through this gate. Commissioned by Emperor Qianlong in the mid-18th century, the Tower of Buddhist Incense stands on the top of Longevity Hill as a symbolic centerpiece of the Summer Palace. It stands approximately 135 feet tall, sitting on a low stone base. Inside the tower stands the thousand-armed, thousand-eyed Bodhisattva Guanyin, 16.5 feet tall, gilded bronze statue. Weighing about 5 tons, it was cast during the reign of Emperor Wanli of the Ming dynasty. Built in 1750 as an imperial office, Emperor Qianlong named this the Hall of Diligent Governance, as a reminder that even within the beauty of the gardens, state duties must not be forgotten. Destroyed in 1860 during the Second Opium War, it was rebuilt and renamed the Hall of Benevolence and Longevity. It is guarded by a qilin, a mythical creature honored in Chinese culture because it's considered lucky. Now we've come to the 17-arch bridge, which spans Kunming Lake to Nanhu Island. As you cross over the bridge, it is customary to rub the head of one of the lion statues just for good luck. There are 544 distinctive lion statues lining the sides of the bridge. Built in the early 1750s, the bridge is 164 yards long and nearly 9 yards wide. One might notice the center of the bridge is designed differently than the rest and resembles a straight path. Only the emperor could once walk along this middle path. Now tourists do so freely. Built in 1420 during the Ming dynasty, Beijing's Drum Tower served as the city's night timekeeper beating the drums to mark the night watches. It also regulated daily life. Each evening, a sequence of drum beats signaled that the city gates were about to close, marking the start of the nightly curfew and keeping the capital on a strict schedule. Beijing's bell tower was first built in 1420, but rebuilt in the mid 18th century. It served as the city's daytime timekeeper, ringing at the start of each traditional double hour to mark the passing of the day. Thank you for watching. Thank you for traveling along with me. I always appreciate your support. Until next time, 再见. Bye bye.